you ready to launch your podcast? It's time for Podcast Now with Restream, the live show that helps you plan, produce, and launch your podcast with the power of Restream. Here's your host, Ian Anderson Gray.
Oh, 111. Well, hello, welcome to Podcast Now with Restream. My name is Ian Anderson Gray, and I'm your host for Podcast Now with Restream. This is the show that helps you launch your podcast from your live show with confidence. Well, in today's show, this is actually pre-recorded. I'm currently sunning myself on a cold and wet beach somewhere in Cornwall, but I did want to carry on with the show, and I wanted to share with you some new things, extra things to help you with launching your live show and podcast. So let's get on with it today. Today I'm going to be showing you how you can grow your audience. We want to connect with a wider audience. We want to build a community, and this is one of the reasons why I love Restream. Not only is Restream Studio, which I'm using today, one of the easiest ways to go live. It is really the easiest way to go live because you just go on the browser, you can invite guests, up to 9 guests onto your show if you want. You can have comments and captions, titles on the screen, and you can broadcast to a plethora of different destinations. In fact, over 30 different destinations, including Facebook, LinkedIn Live, YouTube, you name it, all those places. Now that's great, but one of the things that I really love about Restream is the ability that you can then see the comments from all those different platforms, highlight them on the screen, and I love that. It really is great. So if you are watching live, let me know in the comments, and do get involved with this show. And of course, if you want to find out more about Restream, then I've got a special link for you. If you go to iag.me/Restream, that's iag.me/Restream, you can sign up and get a whole month completely free with Restream. Awesome. Well, the other thing that you can do with Restream is you can share your screen, and I'm going to be sharing a bit of a presentation today. So let's see if the tech is going to work. Of course it's going to work. It's going to work, which is great stuff. So let's look at some advantages in going live with live video. The first thing that I found when I launched my show back in May 2019 was that it allowed me to be consistent. I have never been amazing at consistent, I have to admit, because I'm a recovering perfectionist. I wonder whether you are a recovering perfectionist too. But the thing about live video is that it's kind of the perfect antidote to perfectionism, isn't it? Because it's never going to be perfect. Because in today's show, this is pre-recorded, I'm going to be very, very tempted at the end of this to go back and edit it, and to edit all those ums and ers. And by the way, you can do that. You can use a tool like Descript. There's an amazing integration between Restream and Descript, which is a great tool. That's DESCRIPT. I had to think about that. .com, and that is great because it allows you to download the video from Restream, or just get the video into Descript, edit it, and then you can upload it directly into Restream to then play live as play the pre-recorded video live, which is kind of what we're doing today. So consistency is so important on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, wherever you're going live to. It allows you to be consistent because it's not about being perfect. The next thing is you can turn it into a content repurposing powerhouse. And I'll be talking a little bit about that today. Using tools like Descript and other tools out there, you can create so many other types of content, whether it's a podcast, which is a lot of what we've been talking about on this show, or blog posts, or social media images. I don't know, loads and loads of cool things. So yes, content repurposing powerhouse. You can grow your audience and your channels. And I have been able to do that really successfully over the past year and a half through my live show using Restream. And of course, the more times you go live, the more confident you become. When you first go live, it can be quite a stressful experience. For most people, you feel like stressed and you feel that you're going to make a complete idiot of yourself. And maybe the tech is going to go wrong. But the more you do it, the more confident you become, the better you become as well through that practice. You can grow and build that community. And I've loved this part of it because on my show, on this show at Restream and on my Confident Line Marketing show, I am starting to get more of the same people turning up every week. And I know them by name and I know them really well. And we have a laugh, we have a chat. I love that about community. It's about building that community. It doesn't have to be massive. My community is small, but it is a really engaged community. And if you are watching and you are part of my community, well, if you are watching, you are part of my community, then welcome. I really, really appreciate you. And I don't take you for granted for carving out this time to spend time with me each week. I really appreciate that. And that is the power of live video because it is about you turning up, being yourself, not being perfect, being human and turning up for your community. And of course, with that comes an increased reach and engagement. You know, this is a big issue on most organic social, you know, including YouTube, but Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter. It's more and more difficult to get the reach that we once had. And so having an engaged community is going to really help with your reach. And that's what we want, obviously. And of course, if you are a recovering perfectionist, it's an amazing way to overcome that perfectionism because perfect does not exist. And even if it did, would you really want to watch the perfect video? Not sure. Well, before we get into that, I need to cover the three main barriers that so many of us face when it comes to going live. There's usually people will suffer from at least one of these barriers. And I'd love to know from you which one of these barriers you struggle with. Or if you don't struggle with any of them, well, great. I'd love to know from you too. Or maybe you suffer from all three of these. Well, the first one, of course, is getting the tech and the gear sorted, like microphones and webcams and the background and lighting. It's a struggle for a lot of people. Now, it's a lot easier if you use a tool like Restream Studio. Yeah, that's a lot easier, but there's still a few things that you need to work out, like which is the best microphone to use, how do you plug it in, all that kind of stuff. So it's the live video tech and gear. The second one is that live video confidence and fear. It's all to do with up here. It's your mindset. Some of us feel really scared getting in front of the camera and we're worried about making a complete fool of ourselves. I call this feeling like an idiot syndrome, or maybe it's imposter syndrome or comparing yourself with others, all that kind of thing. So it's the live video confidence and fear could be one of your barriers. Or maybe it's the live video content marketing sphere. It's all to do with getting your content created. You're not sure what to talk about on your live shows. You're not sure how to promote it. You're not sure how to grow your audience. Well, let me know. Let's firstly talk a little bit about the tech and gear. I'm not going to go into huge amounts of detail today because that's not really what this episode is about. But let's look at the tech and gear. I wonder whether sometimes you feel like your live video experience as a producer and a host is a bit like this. It's like flying an airplane. There's so many knobs and buttons and levers. Yeah, it can be a little bit stressful. Well, I want to say, first of all, don't make the tech the scapegoat for your fears. Is it actually the tech or is it actually something else? Because the tech is nowhere near as difficult as it used to be. I've mentioned Restream Studio loads. Restream Studio is really, really easy to use. But still, I think we can, make the tech the excuse when we're really, really scared about looking like an idiot in front of the camera. So don't make the tech the scapegoat. That's what I've done in the past. I have tried to get the perfect studio set up and I got overwhelmed and I've made that the excuse for going live when actually the main issue is that I'm worried about, just saying the wrong thing, looking like an idiot, being judged by other people. Well, if you want to know more information about the gear that I use, I've got a gear guide at iag.me/gear guide. I talk about the fact that I use Restream and a few other pieces of software, the microphones, cameras, all that kind of stuff. Do check out iag.me/gear guide to find out more about that. Okay, we've got the tech out of the way. Let's look at mindset, the confidence, that fear that you may be having in front of the camera. We've got to talk about this. And this is probably an accurate depiction of how I looked back in, I don't know, 2015, 2016, when I first started to go live. Because the thing was, I knew a lot about live video. I had written an article. It's had over 6.5 million page views. But although I knew the theory of live, I was scared of going live. And I felt like this. I was worried about people judging me, looking like an idiot. So I had to get over that. These were my barriers. I had to get over my fear of live. And I didn't go live for a whole month because of my background, as I said before. I was worried about looking like an idiot. I was comparing myself with others. I had imposter syndrome. I was a total mess. Does any of this kind of resonate with you? Now, these days, I feel so much more confident. I still have my moments. I still sometimes struggle. But I want to encourage you that if you struggle with some of these things, there is hope. There is hope, because I'm going live not just once per week, but usually 2, 3, 4 times every single week. And I have learnt how to channel my nervous energy into excitement in front of the camera. Now, this chart is really important. I'm kind of joking here, but yeah, I spent months and months and months researching this chart for you. Not really, but it is a really helpful chart, because when you first start, your fear factor is going to be at the highest, and it's not going to be the greatest content that you create. Don't compare your first couple of videos with somebody else's 100th video. Of course, your first video is not going to be that great compared to somebody who's been doing it for 2 or 3 years. You've got to start. But the more you do it, the better your live video will be, and the more confident you will be too. So you've got to get started. You'll have blips along the way. You will stutter and stumble over your words. Sometimes the tech won't work and you'll get frustrated, but keep working at it. It will get better and better. And I love this quote from Philip Kotler. If you've seen me talk before, you'll know I love this quote. Basically, it's all about stop trying to be perfect. We don't want perfect. Marketers need to adapt to this new reality and create brands that behave like humans, approachable and likable, but also vulnerable. Brands should become less intimidating. They should become authentic and honest, admit their flaws, and stop trying to seem perfect. Well, I'm all a big believer in that now, because I've learned that I don't really want perfect in other people. And, well, people aren't going to get perfect from me. And so that is actually quite a big relief. And I can create content that is still really engaging. It's still really valuable, but it doesn't need to be perfect because people don't want it. The thing is, when it comes to getting in front of the camera, we have 2 parts to our brain. We have the kind of, you could call it the prehistoric brain. And this prehistoric brain is hardwired to kind of protect you from danger. You know, in caveman days, there would be a tiger that was coming to get you. It was going to eat you. You were going to die. And when it comes to other things out there, like live video, getting in front of the camera, stuff like that, the prehistoric brain doesn't really know how to deal with it. You know, live video is not in the system. And so it assumes this is danger and you're going to die. And so the tiger is going to come and eat you. Of course, it's not. And you need to reassure this prehistoric brain that that's not going to happen. But there's a trick. There's a hack here. And I trained as a professional classical singer. I remember getting on stage and I was walking on stage. There was probably about 400 or 500 people here in the audience. And I was about to sing something really difficult. I had sung in the rehearsal earlier that day and my voice had cracked on one of the high notes. It's a really hard piece. I was nervous, but that adrenaline pumping through my veins, that nervous energy, I was able to transfer that nervous energy into excitement. And that's what you need to do in front of the camera. Turn that nervous energy, that fear, into excitement. You need to trust in that process. Turn that fear into excitement and trust that it's going to go well. And even if it doesn't go well, just laugh at yourself. Don't take yourself so seriously, because you know what? You're human. Bad stuff happens. You'll occasionally the tech won't work or you'll stumble over your words, but it doesn't matter. Okay, the next thing that I recommend that you work at is warming up your voice and your body and that mindset side of things. And I think standing up for your lives is great, but I've got a great formula here for you to think about. There are 6 steps. First of all, it's relaxing your body, stretching, check your posture. As I said, standing is great. Breath control, breathe deeply, pitch interest, vary your pitch, go low and high in your voice, because you don't want to sound like a robot, do you? Diction and energy. You need to enunciate. You need to put more energy into your words. And then finally, heightened authenticity. You want to be real. You want to be authentic, but you need to put a bit more energy into your lives than you would do otherwise. And so let's move on to the content marketing sphere, which is really what we're going to be talking about today, about growing your audience. That's so important. And I want to introduce you to a process that I've come up with called the 5 Ps live video process. The first part, the planning, is absolutely vital. And it was really me putting this plan together that allowed me to be consistent and to put that time into growing my audience and my community. And so this P is absolutely vital, even though it sounds kind of boring. So I want to share with you my planning doc. You can create this in Google Doc, in Word, in pen and paper, whatever you want. But these sections are really important. The first part has your show summary about your audience and then a bit about you. Your show summary is just in a few sentences, maybe a couple of paragraphs if you're feeling brave, is to summarize what your show is about. You've got your title, hopefully, but what is your summary? What is a description of this? So in my case, I put the Confident Live Marketing Podcast and Show is a regular live show, initially on Facebook Live and a podcast. It's aimed at established entrepreneurs. And I've gone on and I've talked about the different things that I'm trying to help people with. The next stage is your audience. You need to know who your audience is. Who is this show designed for? So in my Confident Live Marketing Show, it's focused towards an audience of established entrepreneurs who want to level up their impact, authority, and profits using Confident Live Video. They're mainly in the US and the UK and Europe. And I've written a few other things. With Podcast Now, the audience is relatively tech savvy. They're wanting to enhance their live streaming. They may not have done live streaming before, but they're creating content and they want to level things up and grow their audience. Now, that is really important that you do that so that you know who you're speaking to on your live show. And then finally, it's time to talk about yourself, to list some bragging points here, because you'll get to episode, 14 or 15, and a lot of us have a bit of a wobble at that moment and imposter syndrome starts to kick in. Now, if you don't suffer from this, that's great. But I do think it's a good idea to list what gives you the right to share this knowledge with your audience. And so that when you do get to those points when you are wobbling, you can look down and you can think, oh yeah, I do know what I'm talking about here. If you're struggling with this, then get a friend, family member, a colleague, somebody who knows you to help you with this section. It's really, really important. Okay, the next part is this was really much a game changer for me, because I'd come up with my title, I'd come up with my summary. I knew what my live show was about, but when it came to creating episodes, it was a bit more tricky. Like, next episode, next week, what am I going to talk about next week? I don't know. Well, I've talked about being confident in front of the camera. Maybe I could talk about, microphones. It's sometimes really difficult to come up with ideas. And so what I recommend that you do is to come up with 3 themes to do with your show and your podcast and your live show. So for my Confident Live Marketing Show, I've got 3. The first one is that camera, confidence, mindset, and presentation. This is modeled on the 3 challenges, which I'm kind of talking about today. The second is the tech and gear. And then the third one is that content, marketing, confidence. And then underneath them, I've then got keywords that will help me come up with ideas. So I've got even things like Pilates and yoga, confidence, communication, diction, facial expression. And that helps me come up with ideas. It helps me find guests for my show as well. Tech and gear to do with microphones, backgrounds, marketing tools. Number 3, content marketing, live strategy, marketing, promotion, selling, repurposing, amplification. So I recommend that you do that. Come up with some themes. And if you've already got some themes in your mind now, why not share them in the comments? I'd love to know from you what you are thinking about. And then the final section is, what is your promise? You know, people are turning up every week, hopefully, for your live show and your podcast. What is the transformation that you're promising in their lives? The transformation that I'm promising on this show is that you will be able to launch your live show and podcast confidently after watching at least one of these episodes. But certainly if you watch 2 or 3 or 4 of these, you'll be in a really good place to be able to launch your live show and podcast with confidence. And so what is your promise? Because people are spending time, you want to be able to deliver on that promise. And then what are your reasons? This is time for you to be a bit selfish and talk about, why are you doing this? And you might be doing it because you want to change people's lives. I mean, that's certainly one of the reasons why I do my live shows. I want to make an impact. I want to change people's lives, but it's not the only reason. Some of them are more selfish, and that's okay. I run my own business. And so part of the reason I'm going live is for brand awareness. I want for people to see me as a confident live marketing expert so they can hire me, and a producer so they can hire me for their events. And so that's one of the reasons sometimes I work as a brand ambassador for a company. And so obviously I'm doing it for those reasons. Or maybe I've got some courses coming up and I want to sell those. Or maybe I want to, for example, I want to build relationships with potential sponsors or with guests and that kind of thing. So that's important to come up with your reasons. And then finally, come up with 10 to 12 episode ideas for your next 10 to 12 episodes so that you can get started. So definitely recommend all of those things. And a friend of mine, Sam Ashdown, came up with this amazing acronym called BLAST, which gives you some ideas of different types of live video formats. For example, behind the scenes. People love behind the scenes content, particularly helpful for live. You can give a little tour around your business. It could be a local focused video, somebody working in your local town or village or city, and you're highlighting them, or a day in the life. This is, what are you working on today, or what's a typical day like for you, and sharing what you're doing today, your thoughts. Sneak peek, I love this one. It could be something new that you're working on and that you're sharing, and that's something I share very regularly, because I want to share something that's exclusive with my live video audience. And then finally, tips and advice, and this is probably the one that we use a lot. Certainly for this show, we're sharing new ideas, but tips and advice on how you can create content using live video. It's expert content, it's pillar content as well. So that's BLAST, to give you some ideas of some content that you can create. Okay, you've planned. It's now time to schedule that live. And what I recommend that you do is go to Restream, go to events, and create an event. And an event basically gives you the ability to schedule a live show in advance to Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Those are the 3 platforms that support scheduling. But in Restream, you can also schedule to other platforms as well. And when you're going to go live, that live link will start on those channels. So pre-promotion is so important. And with LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, you get the link ahead of time. So you can then let your fans, your audience know as well. Now, one thing that you can do is you can create a show intro. And this is good as a trailer, but it's also good for things like, I don't know, obviously to play in your show as well. You can load this up into Restream. There's the whole graphics section, which allows you to add video clips. And so right at the start of your show, you can play this. Now, I recommend for most live shows, a 4 to 8 second show intro is about right. Now, if you're repurposing it into a podcast, you can make it a little bit longer, maybe up to 20, 24 seconds. You've got to work out what's best for you, but I use a tool called Wave Video. It's an online video editing tool. It's great. You can upload your own videos, but it's got a library of stock videos that you can use. I also used, we had Isabella from Music Radio Creative last week, which was great. We're talking about audio branding. And so I used some of her, basically ordered a voiceover artist or some music to be created for my voiceover. So I uploaded that to Wave and I created my own little video intro. And here it is for my other live show. Okay, you get the idea. And of course, if you watch the beginning of this show, you will have seen the show intro for podcast. Then it's a really good idea, once you've scheduled it, to then use social media and to do a social media blast. So for example, on Twitter, you might want to do it, share it out a week before, a day before, an hour before. LinkedIn, maybe a little bit less regularly, but you're creating that content. I use a tool called Agora Pulse to schedule my social media content, but you could do this natively or use another tool, works really well. And then of course you want to send an email to your guest to let them know that we're going to be going live tomorrow. Final reminder to them so they can turn up with a link, of course, to the guest link from Restream as well. And with email, when you're sending out to your email newsletter subscribers, and don't forget them, of course, you know, this is maybe old school marketing, but it works really, really well. You could use a tool like SendTrick, that's SENDTRIC.com, and this allows you to embed a countdown timer in there so that people, your subscribers, will know when you're going to go live, and then they can click that button to watch it live. The day has arrived and it's time to go live. So you can go into Restream Studio, bring in your guest, and get everything set up. There's loads of things that you'll want to think about here. First of all, make sure you have a checklist, a tech checklist that will allow you to make sure that all the tech is working. Warm up your body and your voice using the Confident Live warm-up formula. Start with a smile, unless you're talking about death and destruction and sad things. But in most cases, you want to start with a smile and don't delay. Get straight into it. You know, I'm going to talk about audiences in a minute, but, you know, people will be watching right from the start. Introduce you and your topic. And this brings me on to those different audiences. You know, for most live shows, you've got two audiences. You've got your people from the future, your replay audience, and they are going to be watching right from the start. So you've got to greet them first, make them feel special. Then you've got to think about your live viewers, and you want to make them feel special as well. Now, in today's show, of course, I've pre-recorded this, so it's very difficult for me to, well, it's impossible for me to talk with you if you're watching live because I pre-recorded this. But for hybrid lives, like I did last week, you can get into the comments and you can reply to comments and do that. But you want to make both of those audiences feel special. You want the replay audience to feel special, and you want your live viewers to feel special. But if you spend too much time with your live viewers, it's going to be very boring for your replay viewers as well. And your live viewers feel it's more of a kind of a community feel because they can see each other commenting. They know that other people are watching, whereas replay viewers are watching on their own. It's a much more intimate experience. And then, of course, if you're repurposing it into a podcast, you've got other people from the future who are also listening on their own, and it's more of an intimate experience, particularly podcast listeners, because they're plugging you into their ears. But not only are they from the future, they are listening only. They're not able to see. And so you need to think about them too. Show branding, lots of things that you can do here. Obviously, you can use Restream. They've got loads of features in there that allow you to add videos and backgrounds and overlays and logos. But do check out Wave Video because they have overlays in there that you can download and then upload into Restream Studio. They work really well. They can they're just really cool. So definitely check them out at iag.me/wave. iag.me/wave. Okay. Next thing you will want to do is make sure that you moderate and engage with those comments, not just on the screen, but actually replying to them in the comments. You might want to get a moderator to help you there, but don't get distracted by them. You can always get back to comments, get focused on your topic and then come back to comments. It's a bit of a skill there. And the only way to get better at that is by doing. Summarize your content at the end. Have a call to action, only one call to action. Don't confuse people, but do let people know when you're next going to go live, which is hopefully next week. Once you've finished, send an email to your guest to thank them. That's really important. If you have a guest who feels happy, then they're more likely to promote it for you. And that's really important. You want to make it as easy as possible for your guest to share it out to others. So remember to go into Restream Studio and copy the link from Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn and send it to your guest and ask them to share it. Or if you're feeling very fancy, you can use this new feature called Restream Pairs, and you can get your guest to go live with your live show to their channels as well. And of course, then increase your reach and your audience. So you've gone live and it's time to go to bed and relax and have an afternoon nap. Except it isn't, of course, because you've got to think about what happens afterwards. If you only think about the live element of your live show, then you're missing out on so much. And we're going to talk about the final two Ps, post-promotion first. I think you should create from your live show, cut it up into lots of video babies. Now, the phrase video babies was coined by my good friend from Content 10X, Amy Woods. She's fabulous. And I love this idea. So you could, for example, just cut out the video, download it from Restream, load it into a tool like Descript, add some captions in there, and you've got a video for your Instagram stories or Instagram Reels or IGTV. So what I did there is I just added the video, and now I made it smaller. I added a background graphic, and there you go. So I can then upload that to Instagram. There's also, you could make a square one for Instagram or Twitter or Facebook. And so this is another example. And then the other thing that you can do is just do something completely different using, Instagram Reels or TikTok, and have a bit of fun and creativity. And so for all of my live shows at the Confident Live Marketing Show, I create video theme songs, which are completely mad, like this one. Yeah, they are completely mad. There you go. Let me know what you think about that. But so you don't have to go to that extent, but you can create content that's going to allow you to promote your videos and put your personality, whether it's you as an individual or your business's personality in there. This allows you to grow your audience on all those different channels really easily, because if you're creating that portrait content, this can go to IGTV, it can go to all the story formats on Instagram, for example, Facebook, LinkedIn stories, Twitter fleets, IGTV, I've forgotten them all. But anyway, TikTok. And then square ones can go on Facebook and Twitter in the main feed. And then you could create a landscape one as well for the likes of YouTube. So definitely check out that. And of course, then we've already really covered repurposing there, but there's more that can be done with repurposing. Live video itself, you've gone live, but then you've got that video recording in Restream that you can download. You get all of those live shows recorded in your recordings folder on Restream. So then download it and then turn it into blog posts or social media images and videos or a podcast or a LinkedIn video or a YouTube video. And so loads of things that you can do here. I've mentioned Descript a lot on this episode today, and that's a great, there's a good reason for that, because it's an amazing tool. I love the fact that Descript and Restream work perfectly together. But once you've downloaded the video from Restream, it will be converted into text. It's not going to be perfect, but the text is great because it's a great place to start for your blog post, but also for your podcast, because you can then start to edit the podcast and you can put an intro and outro. So definitely check out Descript. And you can get captions then to then put on your videos for YouTube as well. The other thing that you can do is, of course, create those 15 or 30-second video clips that I showed you before. And you can use a tool like Wave Video for that. And that allows you to put those captions on the screen. So definitely check out that. But then, of course, you want to then upload it to a podcast. I've talked about how you do this on the show before. We've had Mark Asquith from Captivate FM to talk about hosting, podcast hosts. I'm not going to go through all of that now, but you need to get a podcast host, whether it's Captivate FM or some other platform out there, so that you can then create your podcast, upload your episodes, and then submit those to all the different directories out there, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, all that kind of stuff. And then you can then turn that into a blog series. So for all of my podcasts, all of my live shows, I have a blog, and we use Descript for that. I have a Natalie Haley from Hot Content takes that and creates those blog posts for me. Works really, really well, and I love that. Well, just a few points to finish with. If you are new to live video, then there are great places to start, such as Instagram stories or private live videos. So Instagram stories, they're not live video, but it's you getting used to getting in front of the camera. You can share them every day. They're only going to last 24 hours. And then, what's the worst that's going to happen? Or while they go into Restream, connect your YouTube channel and go live to an unlisted video. So no one else is going to see it. You're just testing it. Keep the live video tech simple. I feel a bit of a hypocrite here because I tend to overcomplicate things, but just keep it simple. Make sure you have a nice microphone, but just use Restream Studio and your computer and you're good to go. Plan just 3 points, 1 to 3 points for your live videos. Do practice that confident live warm-up formula, making sure your body and your voice are ready to go. Practice your voice's energy levels with a heightened authenticity. Keep a video diary. Be constructive with it, but write down 3 things that you did well and 3 things that you could do to improve. That really helps. A video journal really helps there. But that's it for today. If you want to find out more, if you want to have any questions, then just email me at ian@iag.me. But this show has basically been all about how you can launch your live show with confidence and how you can turn it into a podcast. And so if you've missed some of the earlier episodes, do go back on the Restream channel and check those out. And if you have any questions, then just post those questions in and we'll be happy to help you. Do check out Restream. Remember, you get that month free and you can play with it. You can play with multi-streaming and increase and expand your audience that way. Just go to iag.me/Restream. That's how you do it. Well, at the moment, as I said earlier on, I'm currently sunning myself on a very stormy, cold and wet beach somewhere. Hopefully not. Hopefully it's really sunny. I don't know, because I'm recording this in advance. But thank you so much for turning up today. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. There will be no show next week. I'm having 2 weeks off, so I'm having 1 week off. But we will be back after that, and I can't wait to see you then. But that is it today, I think. That is it. Anyway, I'll see you soon. And I would want to encourage you to launch your podcast and live show now, not next week, but now. See you soon. Toodaloo. Bye.